and passengers are still trying to get their refunds for their tickets from Comair after it grounded its flights due to cash flow challenges. I'm joined now by consumer expert Trudi Brokemann to discuss this further. Very good afternoon to you. Thank you for your time. There's still no clarity about whether or not flights will resume, and I suppose that has left the client in jeopardy.
That's correct, yes. I think the aspect that most consumers are not aware of is that the Consumer Protection Act anticipates this type of situation where a supplier offers to supply a certain service, but then when the time comes, it turns out that they are in fact unable to deliver. And in such a situation where there's overbooking or overselling of tickets, then the Consumer Protection Act says that you have to be compensated not just for your ticket price, but in fact for your cost to replace the ticket. In other words, and as we've seen, that the other airlines have been escalating their prices on account of the increased demand. And as a result, Comair, Kalula need to compensate consumers for their full price to fly on another airline, not just to refund the ticket prices. And I think that's something very important that consumers need to know about.
You make an important, element in your conversation right now. As you say, you make mention of overselling of tickets, and we know that it was reported that prior to this move, Comair was discounting tickets and selling to quite a lot of clients without them knowing that a week later they would not be able to fly.
Correct. Not the cleverest of moves if you factor in Section 47 of the Consumer Protection Act that says even if you're selling at a bargain basement price, getting 10 Rand for the ticket, you're going to have to pay out, even if it costs 30 Rand for a replacement ticket. I'm just using hypothetical figures, of course, when you refund the consumer, because you have to refund them also their expenses, which they have to incur as a result of your breach of contract as a supplier.
So what would you say in terms of advising consumers who may be unaware that they have to claim back the costs?
I am nervous that Comair is going to give you the runaround as a consumer. So I would probably recommend that if you are able, that you speak to your attorney. It's not a very expensive job for an attorney to do. They must simply draft an email, rely on Section 47 of the Consumer Protection Act, and get you your money back, not just the refund, but whatever you had to pay in terms of replacement tickets on SAF Air, on SAA, etc. So I would recommend that you involve an attorney. Doesn't need to be a particularly expensive attorney. You don't need to speak to a consumer law expert, but you must tell them that they must rely on Section 47 of the Consumer Protection Act.
Very well. Thank you so much for your time. Let's leave it there for now. Consumer expert Trudi Brokemann speaking to the situation at Comair and how consumers can get their money back. And we know that Comair is said to have made a very big mistake because they sold their flights at a low price, and they now have to reimburse their consumers at a very high price.